Picture this: 5 of the world's deadliest martial artists step into a room. Their combined experience, over 100 years. Their mission, to expose a young Hong Kong movie star as a fraud in front of the entire martial arts community. 12 seconds later, all 5 are on the ground. What happened in that room didn't just end a fight, it ended an entire era of martial arts. This is the true story of how Bruce Lee shattered centuries of tradition in less time than it takes you to tie your shoelace. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will change everything you think you know about fighting, mastery, and what the human body is truly capable of. Let me take you back to the 1960s. The air is thick with humidity and even thicker with tension in California's martial arts scene. Imagine walking into a traditional dojo. Everything has rules: the way you bow, the way you stand, the way you breathe. Your belt color determines your worth. Your teacher's lineage determines your legitimacy. Tradition isn't just respected, it's worshipped like a religion. Now, into this rigid world walks a young man who doesn't care about any of it. Bruce Lee. To the old masters, he was an insult wrapped in arrogance. This kid from Hong Kong comes to America, opens his own school, and has the audacity to teach martial arts to anyone, even non-Chinese students. Unthinkable. He moves too fast, talks too much, and worst of all, he dismisses the classical forms they've spent their entire lives perfecting. The whispers started small but grew louder. He's just a movie star. His speed is camera tricks. His power is all hype. Someone needs to expose this fraud. 5 men decided they would be the ones to do it. These weren't ordinary martial artists. These were high-ranking black belts, grand masters who had dedicated decades to perfecting their craft. Men who could break boards with their bare hands, who had won countless tournaments, who trained students across California. They saw Bruce Lee's philosophy, the way of the Intercepting Fist, Jeet Kune Do, as nothing more than stolen techniques with a fancy name. They wanted to prove that real martial arts, traditional martial arts, would always triumph over this modern nonsense. They wanted to humble him, humiliate him, end the myth of the dragon once and for all. They expected a long, brutal fight. They expected to expose his weaknesses. They expected to walk out as legends who had saved martial arts from a charlatan. They had no idea what was about to hit them. The training hall felt like a pressure cooker about to explode. Bruce Lee stood in the center, and here's the first thing that shocked them. He didn't take a traditional stance. No deep horse stance. No hands chambered at his hips. No ceremonial bow. Instead, he bounced, light, rhythmic, like a cat ready to pounce. His eyes, they weren't even looking at his opponent's hands. He was reading something else: the micro-tensions in their muscles, the rhythm of their breathing, the space between their movements. The first challenger stepped forward, a mountain of a man, confident, powerful. He'd practiced his signature lunging punch 10,000 times. It had never failed him. He threw it with everything he had. In traditional karate, this punch ends fights. It's a finishing move. But to Bruce Lee, it was a slow-motion invitation. What happened next happened so fast that witnesses said they heard the impact before they saw the movement. Bruce didn't block, he intercepted. His lead hand whipped out, a blur of motion faster than the human eye could track. The crack of his fist meeting the challenger's jaw echoed through the hall like a gunshot. The man didn't stumble, he didn't fall gracefully. He was extinguished, like someone had flipped his off switch. He hit the floor with dead weight, his nervous system temporarily short-circuited. Time elapsed 3 seconds. The remaining 4 stood frozen, the confidence drained from their faces. This wasn't the fake martial arts they'd mocked in private. This was something primal, something terrifying. The second and third challengers panicked. Abandoning all etiquette, all tradition, they rushed Lee together, 2 against 1. Surely numbers would overwhelm him. Bruce Lee smiled. He moved like water, formless, unpredictable. He practiced what he called economy of motion, never moving more than absolutely necessary. Every movement had purpose. Every action had devastating efficiency. As they charged, Lee pivoted. His legs snapped upward in a side kick that carried the force of a battering ram. The kick caught the second attacker square in the solar plexus, lifting him completely off his feet and sending him crashing into the wall. The third attacker reached for Lee's arms, trying to grab him, control him. Big mistake. Lee's hands became a blur of what he called trapping, pinning the man's arms against his own body, destroying his ability to defend. Then came a flurry of short-range punches to the chest, not wild, not wasted, each one precise, each one devastating. It was a masterclass in controlled destruction. 6 seconds had passed. 3 of the world's most respected black belts were on the ground, gasping for air. The silence that followed was deafening. The final 2 challengers stood paralyzed. You could see it in their eyes, the dawning realization that everything they'd been taught, everything they believed about the right way to fight, had just been demolished in less time than it takes to draw a deep breath. They weren't fighting a man, they were fighting evolution itself. Bruce Lee didn't taunt them, didn't gloat. He simply stood there, breathing as steadily as if he'd just taken a casual stroll. His eyes invited them, continue, test your theories one more time against reality. The 4th challenger, desperate, attempted a low sweep, a move designed to take away Lee's mobility, ground him, make him vulnerable. Lee didn't even look down. He simply stepped over the sweeping leg like it wasn't there and delivered a downward strike to the man's shoulder. The impact sent a shockwave through the challenger's entire body, pinning him to the mat. The 5th man never even tried. He lowered his guard, his head bowed not out of ritual but out of genuine, shattered understanding. 12 seconds. From the first punch thrown to the last man standing down, 12 seconds. In those 12 seconds, the history of martial arts had been rewritten. Here's what makes this story so powerful. It wasn't about Bruce Lee showing off. It wasn't about ego. It was about truth versus tradition. Those 5 men entered as skeptics and left as witnesses to a new era. They'd called him a fake because they couldn't understand a system that didn't rely on tradition as a crutch. They'd confused his charisma for lack of substance, his speed for lack of power. Bruce Lee showed them something profound. A belt is just a piece of cloth that holds up your pants. True mastery, it's the ability to express the human body in its most honest, efficient form, stripped of all the classical mess that clutters the mind and slows the reflexes. This 12-second lesson became legendary. It spread through dojos worldwide as a warning against the dangers of stagnation. It wasn't just about physical defeat, it was about the intellectual destruction of the idea that there's only one correct way to fight. Think about it, Bruce Lee created what we now call mixed martial arts. He proved that the ultimate fighter isn't the one who knows the most techniques, it's the one who can adapt to any situation without hesitation. He taught those 5 masters and the world that your greatest enemy isn't the opponent standing in front of you. It's the rigid beliefs you hold within yourself. When you are empty, you are full. When you are flexible, you are unbreakable. Bruce Lee didn't just beat 5 black belts in 12 seconds. He ended an era of myth and began an era of reality. His philosophy still echoes today. Every time you see an MMA fighter mixing boxing with jiu-jitsu, wrestling with Muay Thai, that's Bruce Lee's legacy. He broke down the walls between fighting styles and showed us that truth doesn't care about tradition. The men who challenged the dragon that day learned the hardest lesson. Truth doesn't care about your rank, your title, or your ego. Truth only cares about what works when the clock is ticking and the fists are flying. Bruce Lee's life was a short, brilliant flash of light that burned away the shadows of the past. He taught us to be like water, formless, adaptable, unstoppable. The dragon may be gone, but the echo of those 12 seconds still rings in the ears of anyone who thinks they've reached the limit of what's possible. So here's my question for you. What traditions are holding you back? What rules have you accepted without questioning? What could you achieve if you stopped doing things the way they've always been done and started doing them the way that actually works? Bruce Lee proved that 12 seconds is enough time to change everything. Imagine what you could do with a lifetime. If this story inspired you, hit that like button, subscribe for more untold stories of legends who changed the world, and drop a comment. Tell me, what's one tradition or belief you're ready to challenge in your own life? Remember, be water, my friend. The dragon's legacy lives on through us. Don't let it be in vain.